What's up? This is John with Eminent Domain. I'm here to bring you another video. Today, this is a how-to video. I created a new patch that I'm going to use for my new hat line. And it's this patch right here. It's two patches on here. This is the patch I'm going to be working with today. This is the Hello, I Am Blessed hat. Alright, so as you can see, whoop, whoop. Alright, as you can see, this is the new patch that I'm going to be placing on a hat. Today's how-to video is how to use Heatbond to place your patch on the hat. Now let me tell you, I had the biggest issue using Heatbond material to place patches on the hat. It wouldn't stick all that well. It was hard to find a hard surface to press firmly the patch on the hat. It was a lot of issues. So through trial and error, I was able to figure out a way of doing it. Now I'm going to show you two ways of doing it. One, the ghetto way. Yes, the ghetto way. And then the least ghetto way. Alright, so first off, what I'm going to do now, I'll show you the materials that I'm going to be working with. Of course, the patch that I have right here, Heatbond material. And you will need a pair of scissors. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. Oh, of course, now you all can't see it. And excuse my messy room. Let me bring down the camera so you can see it both. Alright, an arm and ironing board. Alright, so I have everything I need right here on the ironing board. So now, what I'm going to do is plug up my arm. Alright. Alright, so now I'm going to get that nice and ready, heated up. And I'm going to show you some final products first. Alright. As well as do a little bit of advertising for my patches. Now, this is one of my hats right here, as you can see. Alright, now as you can see, this look a little ghetto, right? Alright, this is my other patch, my hat. Alright, hello, I am crazy as hell. Now, if you're the type of person that is crazy as hell, you know, this be the perfect hat for you. Now, everything that I'm showing you all will be on Amazon, alright, and I'm going to throw my links in the description below. Don't worry about the pot yet. Yeah, I know it's a pot. Alright, so don't worry about the pot yet. Now, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to cut out the patch that I want to use. Now, as you notice, this material is not filled, alright. I have been exploring with twill and different types of materials. So this one is like a black, off black technically, twill material. And I think that's how you pronounce that. Well, anywho, and I like the way, because one, it doesn't, once you embroider on it, it doesn't make the patch really stiff. So it makes it easier to apply to your hats as well. So that's another reason why I like using this material. And two, the stitching, it comes out really nice, because unlike felt, this material is a little bit more stiff, and along with the stabilizer, you can see how well it comes out, the stitching. Alright, so what I'm going to do is take my scissors. I'm going to cut out this patch. Now, what I like to do is a rough cut first. And once I do a rough cut, I will go back and be more precise with the cutting, making sure I get close to the outline of the patch. Like I said, a rough cut first. Now let me go. Like any patch, once you get really close to the stitching, gotta be really careful. Alright, you don't want to get too close to the edge of the stitching, but yet alone you still want to make it look really nice and clean. I know with my embroidering, I tend to have some extra stitching, sticking out of my design. So what I do is I cut off that extra stitching. And the extra stitching that I know of, it doesn't affect the design of the patch. Alright, so as you can see on this patch, I still have like stitching thread that's just still looks a little wild, and I'm gonna show you how to clean that up. Now, another thing I like to do is you have jump stitching that goes across the design, alright, on the front. And what I like to do is, I don't know what you call these, I just know how to use them, but it's like a scissor type. It's like double bladed, almost like scissors, but it's a lot smaller, easier to control. And as you can see, what I do is I go and look for any loose stitching like this that's on the front, and also any jump stitches like in between the letters, I go and cut as well, because you don't want to keep the jump stitching there. So I go in between each letter and cut out that little jump stitch. And as you can see, there's a jump stitch right there that I haven't cut yet between the E and the D. Alright. Now any long thread that you see, you want to go ahead and cut. And then I just like to cut wild sometimes. Not cut like into the material, but cut up, like on top of the design, to see if there's any extra loose thread that I can cut without being as precise. Because sometimes there's just wild looking thread that's just sticking up, and if you just kind of go wild like that, it gets some of it. Not all of it, some of it. Now I'm going to go for the jump stitching right here in the smaller letters. It's not a lot there, but I want to get rid of it. Every time I look at this patch, I think of Lionel Richie and one of his songs. Hello, is it me you're looking for? I can see it in your eyes, I can see it in your smile. You all I ever wanted, with arms open wide. I know just what to say, and I know just what to do. Now, if I butchered that song, ignore it. It was just in my head. Now, let me grab the scissors. You see like this loose thread? You want to make sure this is not here. Alright? So, it's like long thread. Just cut it off. Oh, and then, I didn't say, with this patch, I use a tearaway stabilizer. So make sure you tear it away. Alright. So I gotta do that right now too. Now I'm almost done. Definitely be careful, because I almost grabbed some of the thread and you don't want to mess up your design. Alright. So there we go. That's the back of it. Now, alright, now this is the fun part. Take a lighter. Yes, a lighter. And you're going to burn the edges of your patch. Alright? And by doing that, you're not trying to burn up the patch. Just any loose thread around the patch is going to give it more of a cleaner look. And really pay attention, because you don't want to keep the flame on the patch. You want to go in the motion around the patch. You don't want to keep it in the same spot. Otherwise, it's going to create burn marks. It's going to, it's going to really burn it. All right. I like to play with fire. I don't know why. Something about fire that really attracts me. Could have been an arsonist in a different life. Who knows? Burning down cities. I hope not, though. That would have been a bad thing. Alright, so as you can see, the type of motion, I'm not staying in one spot. Just going around. And then another thing I like to do is, on the edges, take your gum and it's kind of rub it to the back of the patch, because sometimes when the thread it melts, it forms like, it's almost like plastic, and you can kind of give it more of a nicer look that way too. Oh, my phone is going off. And then also what you want to do is just like this, take your lighter and go across the face. You doing it really fast, you're not leaving it in one spot for a long time. Alright, there probably is a better way of doing this, but this is the way I do it. You don't want to do it on really long thread because it just turns it like a dirty brown. So if you see like long thread, just go ahead and it's better just to cut it like what I'm doing it now. So I'm taking those little scissors and cutting it up. Tell me what you think. See the edges? Clean, right? And then that's the front of it. Alright, next step. You're going to take your Heatbond material. I have to unfold mine. And I'm going to cut enough material to cover the entire patch, plus leave like very small portion of it outside of the patch, and I'll show you what I mean. I probably didn't explain that correctly, but alright, so I cut out the material. Now as you can see, I had a Heatbond material on the back of the patch. Now you want to make sure that the shiny or the glue side is on the patch. Alright, not facing you, touching the patch. You should only have the wax paper. Like if you rub your finger across it, it should be the wax paper right here only. No glue material. Alright, so next what I need to do is, I forgot to tell you all about one piece of material that you're definitely going to need. You're going to need parchment paper. So make sure you have parchment paper as well. At the beginning of the video, I think I'm just going to list all the materials because I know I forget certain things and then I add it on as the video progresses. So I'm going to take my parchment paper. I'm going to lie it flat on the ironing board. Next, my patch. Next, the Heatbond. Remember, glue side is down. The front of the patch will be facing down. Alright? Alright, so normally, I know people always say like, temperature set to blase, blase, whoop-de-whoop. Now, one, I done had this iron for a couple years. I don't even know what temperature is what, so I just set it to the highest setting. Alright. Once I set it to the highest setting, I turn off the steam. You don't want steam going as you're pressing this down. Now, once I have my iron at a particular temperature, don't do this at home. I do it because I have like the roughest hands in the world and I got a slight tolerance to pain. So, but I know some people, they do that one time. No. Alright. So now, there we go. I'm going to hold it down on my patch for about 5 to 8 seconds. You don't want to move it around. Because you move it around, you're never really sure which position it is on the patch. So like me. Now. Alright, so like I said, make sure that the bond is on the patch. Directly is covering the entire patch. Put the iron down. 5 to 8 seconds. Then once you have done that, what I like to do is go with the edge of the iron and go around the edges of the patch. Now you want to let it cool for about maybe like 15-20 seconds. In the meantime, while I'm letting that patch cool, I want to explain to you all the pot and the hat. Now this is the ghetto way of applying the patch. I told you at the beginning of this video, the biggest issue that I ran into is trying to find a way to press the patch firmly on the hat. This is your solution. Now you can't do it with an extra huge pot. This is like a saucepan, so you can't do it with like a huge one. You need like a medium-sized one, like the size of this. Alright, and then you want to make sure that your hat can go over it, but the pan can still fill the inside of the hat mostly. It has a little bit of a surface that it comes in contact with, and you can still press it firmly. Once you have gotten the patch cool, like so, then next you want to take your scissors. I'm going to cut around the edge, but I want to leave a little bit. I want to leave a little bit extra around the patch because it would help the patch adhere to your hat. And make sure whatever heat bond you cut, get it out the way, because it gets in the way and it gets on your patch, and you don't want that to constantly happen. Because like I said, it's a pain to get off. Normally by me cutting this, I would remove the paper backing, and then it will expose just the patch and the glue. What I would do is place the patch on the hat, lay the pot down like this, but putting the parchment paper on top of the patch. First, get that correct. Putting the parchment paper on top of the patch. Going over the patch with an iron. Make sure you have a patch in the spot where you want it. Alright. And then pressing firmly on it as so until the glue cools and adhere to the hat. Now, like I said, I'm not doing this particular way because this is because I just have something else. So let me get this out the way. Alright, so I have this brand new hat. What I'm going to do is go ahead and open it up. Now I have a heat press machine, and I have this to heat press things to my hats if I need to. Only thing is, I don't like to use it. For me, it's difficult using. Now I want to get rid of some of this dust around here. Now my rule for placing my patches on my hat is I have pretty large fingers, and most people just say like an index finger from the brim of the hat to the edge of your patch, and that's how much space you should have, especially on a pretty large patch like this. Now I'm going to say I use my pinky, alright, because like I said, my index finger is pretty large. So I take my pinky, but first what I do is I fold the patch in half where corner to corner meets, because I want to create a point of reference. Now where the middle of this patch is where you're going to be lining it up with the line on this hat. Okay, so as so. Now what I want to do is, like I said, a pinky for me. If you, as you see, my pinky is pretty large, but some of y'all who have smaller fingers, and I know I'm ashy, alright, some of y'all who have smaller fingers, you know, you want to use your index finger. So I'm taking my pinky, and that is where I'm going to place my patch, right on top of my pinky finger, and you know, right on top of the space that my pinky finger leaves. So it's going to kind of look like this, if you can kind of tell. Take off the paper backing. Alright, so I took off the paper backing. I'm going to take this, I don't know what you call it, place it inside of my hat where I can have a firm surface. It's a little plushy, but it's okay. I can still put some pressure on it. Alright, so keeping my point of reference, pinky finger. Parchment paper Making sure it doesn't shift, because mine just shifted all over the place. Cover it with the parchment paper, making sure it stays in this spot. Don't shift. I like to constantly check it, because you don't want to, it's better to keep correcting it than making a mistake and not being able to go back and fix it. Now I'm pressing the iron around it. Now this, you can do it in a couple of spots just to get the glue to melt at certain points, to where you don't have to go back, and you can press it down firmly and it will stick. And then you can always go back with the iron and do other spots too. And you don't have to worry about it shifting. Keep it pressed down for about 15 to 20 seconds. I just like to be sure. It could be less. Alright, so now it looks like it has been sticking in certain places. Alright, so it's not shifting. Now I can go back and take my parchment paper, cover it again. Keep in mind, it's on a firm surface. Take the iron, go over other spots. Now you can move it around slowly to different spots. So I'm doing 1/2 of the patch for now. Keeping it around, moving around slowly for, let it cool off a second before you actually place your hand on there. Alright. Now, press it firmly. If it's too hot, just go to the cooler spots, but still try to press down the entire patch firmly onto the surface of the cap. For 15 to 20 seconds. Especially press around the edges, because that's the hardest place for it to stick. That's why I like to leave a little excess heat bond or glue, hoping that it will help that situation. I still have it pressed. Now I'm going to do the other side. Remember, go around slowly. Let it cool for a second, then firmly press it. Remember, if it's too hot, just move your hand to a cooler spot, but still try to cover the patch, where you can press certain areas down firmly. Remember, you want to focus on the edges as well. 15 to 20 seconds. Now go ahead and examine. Now as you can see, it's kind of coming up right here. Remember, I told you the edges are going to be the harder ones right there as well. The top seem to be okay, so I need to focus more on the bottom to make some more pressure. So I'm going to place this back inside the hat, get it back on a firm surface, parchment paper. I'm going to start on 1/2 first. Now you're not doing the entire patch this time, just doing the areas that is not adhering to the hat. Pressure. Remember, if it's too hot, give it a second. Now the other side. Alright, now inspect. As you see, now the corners are not coming up. And there we go. Woo. Alright, so now the patch is on there. Now as you can see, you'll see some extra glue lying around. Now as you may have seen, still has some excess glue around the edges. Kind of take these little scissors right here. You don't want to cut too deep under there. But what I like to do is either take a blow dryer and go around the edges, or in this case, a lighter. Again, just quickly around certain areas where you see the glue. Because otherwise, if you overheat it, the glue may come up and the patch may stop adhering to the hat. Alright. And even if you do it, just kind of go back and press it down a little bit more. Now, you don't want to wear this for sometimes a few hours, because you don't want the glue is still adhering, it's still a little warm. You want it to become permanent, one with the hat. Alright, so fold it back, and here we go. Alright, so that pretty much concludes this video. So as you can see, one of my hats to completion. For the most part, Heatbond is not a permanent thing. So what you would probably want to do to reinforce the patch, for not coming up from the material, sew it. Put a couple of stitches on each end of the patch where the stitch can be a little concealed. It can't really be seen, and that will keep it on your hat so it doesn't come off, and so you can enjoy it for years. Alright, so with that being said, check out my Etsy store. The link is below. Like, comment, subscribe. Also, subscribe. Alright, make sure you subscribe to my channel. I am going to be doing a lot of skits, how-tos, commentary, reactions. There's a lot of facets to this person you call John. So with that being said, you will see the embodiment on this channel. So make sure you go ahead and subscribe. Deuces.
Image, domain, apparel.